Welcome to Living Well with Alan Davey. And Alan, good to be back in the studio again.
Yeah, it's great to be back, Rob.
We're going to talk about our wives today.
No, but we will talk about marriage today, Rob.
One of the hardest things for us to recognise, it's easy for us to sit here and say, all my marriage problems are my wife's fault, because we know that she's going to be sitting there with her friends saying all my marriage problems are my husband's fault. But the truth is we both bring baggage in.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. One of the things that I've recognised is when you're counselling a couple, you're counselling three relationships. There are three relationships going on within that environment. There's your relationship with yourself, your wife's relationship with herself, and then your relationship with each other.
Yep.
And so when we can recognise that's right, because we bring ourselves into a relationship, and taking that a step further, I've got bumps and bruises, some damage because the fall's damaged us all.
Yep.
So I got some damage from my history. My wife's got some damage from her history, and so when we come together, there's friction. We bump against each other's bits and pieces, like I said, the bumps and the bruises. And when we do that, because I said something that might have been hurtful, Ginny thinks I intended to hurt her, whereas it might have just been, I don't know, just the way I relate normally in life anyway, and Ginny wasn't prepared for that. And in fact, there's an aspect of truth to that. I've got 5 brothers, and we're fairly boisterous family. Ginny was from a reserved English family, and so for me to be heard in my family, we had to yell.
You had to get loud.
Had to get loud.
Yep.
And for Ginny, loud just meant something was going wrong, because in their family they didn't do loud.
Yeah.
And so we get married. Within the first couple of weeks of our marriage, I said something to Ginny. I didn't think she heard me, so I just said it louder. She felt taken back by my loud voice. She literally stepped away from me. I thought, okay, I just need to be a bit louder to get her attention. And the end of that
So you didn't say it again?
I said it louder because I didn't think Ginny heard me. And the end of that was Ginny was in the bedroom with the door shut, and I was in the hallway yelling at her.
Right.
And she would have thought, who the heck is this I'm at?
Yeah.
So those simple little
Is
things
it also,
can get away.
There's also situational things, because, sometimes yelling is a good thing. If you're yelling a warning at someone that look out, that's about to hit you in the head, that's not a bad thing. But it's the way we do things, and again the way we're brought up. You do, I do things one way. Sharon does things another way, which is completely natural for me, but not natural for her.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I say something which is completely natural and that hurts her because she's taken it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Oh, see, no, sorry. That put the onus on her then, didn't it? She took it the wrong way.
Well, one of the things, if we can learn to say this simple concept, this is simple but not easy. Most things are reasonably simple, but often not that easy.
Yep.
If in your marriage or any relationship, if someone has said something to you that you feel threatened or offended by, you've got every right, and you should say, excuse me, when you said that to me, I felt threatened. Were you intending to try and threaten me? And often the person will say, oh, no, not at all. I didn't mean that at all. And then you'll be able to reflect back and say, well, it was the person's tone, and that tone reminded me of something else in my own childhood or something like that. Or, worst case scenario, the person might say, yes, I was actually trying to threaten you. And then you say to them, well, I thought in this relationship we're trying to be friends here.
Yep.
So can we work that one through, please?
Yeah.
Rather than throwing stones at each other.
And so sometimes we might not realise that we were, if you use the threatening example, sometimes until it's thrown back at us, you go, actually, yes, I was.
Yeah.
I don't intend to threaten you, but actually, yes, it was.
Yeah. And those are the key moments to be able to say, okay, we're meant to be lovers, not fighters.
Yep.
Lovers wanting the best for the other. One of the best lines I've ever heard on love was that line, and I flipped it a little bit. Lovers wanting the other to thrive. Love is supporting the other to thrive.
Yeah.
So if I'm supporting Ginny to thrive and Ginny's supporting me to thrive, then that's a pretty good place to have a relationship from. And so anything that's getting in the way of that, let's deal with it, please.
So I think the correct response to that, if I use Cliff from Cheers as an example, is what colour is the sky on your planet?
Right.
Because that's a nice ideal, but how often is that going to happen?
Well, it should happen.
It should happen.
Yeah, so we should be able to do that. They say that the 3 hardest words are I love you, and I get that. I think the next 3 hardest words are I am sorry, and we can all get that. But I actually suspect really the 3 hardest words are can we talk? Because can we talk then makes me vulnerable to you.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're meant to be. There's what's I like my lines, as you know, Rob. What's the line that I like? There's no intimacy without vulnerability.
Yeah.
So if we're wanting, and I'm not talking physical intimacy, if we're wanting emotional intimacy, we actually need to become vulnerable.
Yeah.
But sorry for cutting in, Rob. Here's the thing. If I've got broken bits and pieces in me, hurt bits and pieces in me, and so inside my soul I've gone like this to protect me from those hurt bits and pieces, and Ginny's trying to get close to me, and I'm not wanting to be vulnerable enough because I don't know if I can trust her or I haven't dealt with it myself, then we have some problem.
I think we've talked before about like having a fishing hook or a barb in your arm or somewhere, and you lash it down. And so because you've bandaged it over and you've lashed it down, it doesn't hurt unless you bang it into something, but it's still there. And the problem is in our marriage relationships, we tend to bang it into our spouse, or they do something that bangs it, and that sets us off.
Yeah. Well, you know, the simple Bible concept of 2 becoming 1. Simple,
Such a simple concept, yes.
And it is a simple concept, but that ain't easy. And I think God's set that up somewhat for us to be able to work on our stuff so that we can actually become 1.
Yeah.
What's the other little line I like? It's very hard to make love with your armour on. It's a very noisy business.
It must be. How do you recognise, because you talked about baggage, I brought baggage into our relationship. Sharon brought baggage into the relationship. How do I can recognise her baggage really easy. How do I recognise mine and deal with mine? Because when she deals with it, I don't like it.
Yeah. Well,
Alan's going, I've got a session next week.
No, we're all caught up in pride, wounded pride.
Yeah.
Hurt people, all that kind of stuff. And that's fallen human nature. And you're right, that's absolutely true. And that's why marriages, many marriages fail. Many marriages that don't fail are only functioning, they're not thriving. And you're only left with a reasonably small amount of marriages that are genuinely thriving.
Yep.
Because it's hard to be able to process some of that stuff, especially when you do feel vulnerable. The two qualities needed to sustain and grow a healthy relationship are healthy negotiation skills and building trust. And those are the 2 qualities that are needed.
Yeah.
And when we can learn to negotiate in a healthy way, when you said that to me, I felt offended. Were you trying to do that? What was behind that for you? Can we talk that through, please? That's negotiation. And building trust is actually, when you did do that, you breached trust. Remember, we'd said that this was a limit, but you went beyond that limit.
Yep.
For me to now have trust restored with you, you need to rebuild trust with me, and it needs to start looking like this. Are you willing to do that?
Yeah, trust is. I'm no psychologist or counsellor, although having been a pastor, you're forced into it at times. But I have seen that women, and I've got to be very careful saying this, women test their husbands to see if they can trust them.
Yeah.
And the husbands are going, why do you keep testing me? Yes, I love you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to me, that's obviously there's the baggage and the hurt in there going, can I trust you with my hurt?
Here's the thing. In a general sense, the vulnerability of a man is, have I got what it takes? And deep down, the man doesn't think he has what it takes.
Yeah.
This is
particularly Kiwi men.
Well, I've only lived in New Zealand, and so definitely Kiwi.
Definitely Kiwis, yep.
And the vulnerability of a woman is, am I worth pursuing? So men is, have I got what it takes? Woman is, am I worth pursuing? And so the woman is touching base with the man to make sure that she's still worth pursuing. Are you still going to pursue me?
Right.
And the goal, all she's longing for is for him to say, I'm for you, I'm pursuing you,
Yeah.
in a way that reaches her. And the vulnerability of a man is, have I got what it takes? And so when the woman poses a challenge, the idea of the challenge is for the man to respond well, positively to that, so the woman feels affirmed. Unfortunately, when the woman poses a challenge on the man feels threatened because he doesn't think he has what it takes.
Yeah.
So this is a generalization. And so we revert back a bit because you're trying to protect our hurt bits.
Yeah.
And then the woman thinks, well, he's not stepping towards me to rescue me, to hug me, to affirm me. And so she gets upset and makes him feel more upset. And
It just goes on and on and on.
There's the division.
Like, if you keep testing me, no, I'm not going to want to pursue you.
Yeah.
Just trust in me. But that's that trust thing that's been broken.
Well, I don't know if I read this once upon a time in one of these sessions, but I'd just like to read this again. This is almost like, sounds like we set this up as a segue, which we didn't, but I did have it here just in case. This is an article I wrote on trust.
Yep.
For our local newspaper. Put it out a year or two ago. So this just helps explain this concept of trust in regards to a significant relationship. And for us, we're talking about marriage to becoming one. Over the years, I've helped build a house or two. One of the things that this has shown me is just how much time and effort go into preparing the foundation for the house to sit on. You also realise that if you don't do the necessary groundwork, then in time, cracks in walls and floors may appear. Poor workmanship, shortcuts, and inferior building materials will compromise the quality of the final product. It's not hard to see this as a good analogy for developing a secure, long-lasting relationship. Like the building process, if we don't put the effort in the beginning, then down the track, if not sooner, issues or cracks compromising the strength of the relationship will show up. One of, if not the most important materials needed in forming the foundation for a strong and healthy relationship is trust. Imagine having a relationship with your partner where you're able to share the deepest issues of your soul, your deepest hurts and fears, hopes and dreams, and know you are safe. Safe from criticism, safe from being ignored, safe from being misunderstood, safe from being belittled or hurt. Real intimacy is found in becoming bondable enough to allow the other to see into the depths of your being. But the only way that can happen safely is when one builds enough trust with the other to risk making themselves that vulnerable. The relationship that offers the potential for this to happen best is found in the coming together of a couple under the commitment of spending a lifetime with each other, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. In the early stages of a relationship, as situations arise, consciously or subconsciously, you're asking yourself the question, can I trust you in this? Can I trust you with our finances? Can I trust you with you telling me the truth? Can I trust you with confidentiality? Can I trust you with my sexuality? Can I trust you with my soul's deepest hurts? Life with its ups and downs provide the opportunities needed to demonstrate your trustworthiness or to learn to become trustworthy. Fallouts and stuff-ups are a fact of life, so it's not about avoiding these, it's about working them through well enough to build a safe environment for trust and respect to grow. And when we do stuff up, effectively expressing a genuine regret for your behaviour and then receiving forgiveness offers the opportunity to clear the way for trust to begin to be rebuilt. Achieving this quality of relationship doesn't happen by chance. It takes courage and a genuine commitment to put your relationship with the other above your own self-interest. What kind of dwelling do you want to live with your loved one? A cold, unstable house or a warm, secure home? To a large degree, you get to determine that, because the love that a couple has for each other is a fire that keeps the family safe and warm.
Yeah.
So that concept of trust runs deep.
Yep.
And when trust is breached, we need to be able to say, sorry, something's not working right here. We need to renegotiate. We need to rebuild trust. Are you wanting that to happen for us?
These, to me, they're easy, not easy, but easier when the relationship is newer.
Right.
But a lot of people are in marriages and relationships where this lack of trust, these other things have been going on. They're basically in their own room with their own suitcases, with all their baggage, and you go, how do we get back from this, or do we just continue this way?
I had a couple, and I'll make this obviously vague. I had a couple come to me. He had done something so wrong in the relationship that he was on half a page of a Sunday newspaper.
Right.
I had actually read it, not knowing I was ever going to touch base with him, but I read the article, something that went down badly. And she had been told by everybody that knew her well, they've been married for years, 3 or 4 children, young children. And so her family had told her, just walk away. I mean, it's broken beyond repair, just walk away. Which she did for a bit, to be honest, and so they were now separated. But she really wanted to restore the relationship. So both of them came to my office. Both of them wanted to restore the relationship. Key point. Yeah. Both wanted that. And the line I gave to them, I said, if you both want the white picket fence life, do you know what I mean by that? Anyway, you get the picture. Then you can have it, but you both have to work hard for it. Are you wanting that? Both of them wanted it, and both of them now have it. It took some effort. They had to work through some stuff, but they were committed to the cause. So that's available to anybody. I mean, they had Christ in their life, and he was centered to both of them. So they weren't just looking at each other or their family, who were saying,
do this or do
go
that.
away. They were looking to Christ, and they recognized, for the sake of lovers wanting the best. What was that line I used? The love that a couple has for each other is a fire that keeps family warm. So they wanted their family to have that security, and they knew that that was up to them to come together, not just to come together, but to becoming one. And they had to start that again. And they literally went back to some issues that had caused problems in the beginning that they had papered over the cracks. You know, and those problems became major issues.
I mean, there are things in our lives that we can shelve. I mean, theologically, we do that all the time. You come across something in the Bible, you go, actually, I have no idea what that's. So you just stick it on the shelf. You go, God will deal with that later. But in a relationship, if you do that, you end up putting lots of stuff on the same shelf.
That's right.
And it's, and if it's a warehouse shelf, it's going to,
Well, the other line is, if there's, the elephant in the room, if there's lots of elephants in the room, there ain't no place to dance, is there? We got to get, and elephants leave big messes, Rob.
Yeah, they do.
And so let's start dealing with them. And why not one at a time? Why not say, no, I actually want this to work. Do you want this to work? Let's just work towards making that work.
What's the hardest thing from your experience, the hardest thing for a husband or a wife to actually go, yes, I do want it to work?
Oh, pride. For a man, it is absolutely pride. Yeah, that is my experience. For a woman...
Like pride, it's not my fault, it's her fault.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Not willing to go for help. Not willing to own my stuff, being held up and wounded, pride. That's what I've noticed. If you say what's the hardest, there's others. For the man, I think there is the aspect of pride. I think for a woman, it's she's. Please, everybody out there, don't take this. Don't crucify me on this one. But a woman is desperate to try and get heard. And so they think, oh, well, if I just keep on going on and on and on, maybe eventually he'll hear me. And the man thinks, for goodness sake, don't keep on going on and on and on. And so he shuts down from that. She amps up from that, because all she's wanting is for it to work, but she's going about it the wrong way. Yeah.
There's that video, the nail in the head.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it is, and it's so accurate. It's just, because blokes just want to take the nail out, but for the women, it's the nail's not the problem. It's the it is the communication, the talking,
It's interesting, isn't it, that male and female are significantly different.
Somewhat, yeah.
Not just physiological; they are significantly different. and harnessing both together is a good thing.
Yeah.
And that's a God thing. He's wanting men to become more open to their inner self, and he's wanting women to support the men well enough to help them do that. Those sorts of things. But there's tensions.
Yeah. You touched just with that support word, because that touches on something, particularly in the Christian marriages and relationships, is the whole thing of the woman being created as the helpmeet for the husband. My take on that, and again, I'm going to almost quote what Ellen just quoted before about not crucifying me on it, is that God gives the man a task. He gives him a role, and he's created the woman, brought the woman along to help the man fulfill that role, and the woman will be fulfilled in doing that. Try saying that to a woman, and you will hear something different. But how much does that play out in a Christian relationship or a Christian marriage where these problems are going on?
Yeah. I come back to the line I use, that true love is the commitment to help the other to thrive. That's what love is. And so what's getting in the way of that? I want I want my wife to thrive, and if my wife wants me to thrive, if Ginny is my greatest advocate and I'm Ginny's greatest advocate, then we're on the right page.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't know whether that answers it. Was that a bit political? I don't know. But I still believe
beautifully
that's
political.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just fundamentally true.
I remember listening to it wasn't Alistair Begg, it was another Alistair, but it was in an audio book on marriage, and he said that God had spoken to him very clearly about his wife. He says, your wife is a believer. And he goes, yes, that's right. He goes, that makes her my daughter. Yeah. Yes, that's right. He says, that makes me your father-in-law.
Yeah.
How are you treating my daughter?
Amen. I've used that on couples before, and the opposite way around as well, as of course,
Yeah.
It makes the father as the daughter's, whatever
Yeah,
it was,
yeah.
The other way around.
Still her father-in-law.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And that's not a bad perspective, because that helps us to look down at ourselves differently and be able to say, I'm playing a part here that I need to work well on, do better with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it possible to do that? And I'm not just lifting up marriage counselling or anything, but is it possible for a husband and wife to do that on their own? If they've got to that stage where it's just separate lives?
No, I don't think it is, because we're the man's held up in wounded pride. The woman is just so frustrated because she hasn't been able to get across what she wants to, and she's going about it in a way that's not working. And so they need to go somewhere to somebody that has the tools and the skills and the insights to help them do that better. So when the marriage is fairly broken, then I think that there is help that's needed.
Yeah. And if we're talking about Christian marriages, can we get that from a non-Christian counsellor?
I think you can, Rob, because it's the truth that sets us free, and it doesn't matter who gives you the truth as long as it's the truth.
Yeah. You know who said that? The Dalai Lama.
What did he say?
He said if the truth is the truth, it doesn't matter who said the truth.
Right. Yeah, well, a donkey spoke the truth, didn't he?
That's true.
To Balaam. So by a god, of course. So I still I think from that point of view, yes, you can, but why not? Why not go for the best?
Yeah.
The best possible scenario, which is a wise Christian counsellor.
Yeah. If we're talking about baggage, there's different types of baggage. I mean, if I fly somewhere for a weekend, I'll take my laptop bag and a carry-on. That's about it. If I'm going for a cruise, which would be very, very nice, I'll be taking a couple of suitcases. When we come into relationships, there's different amounts of baggage, and I can imagine there are some suitcases that are more important to deal with first.
Yeah. I love doing pre-marriage counselling. It's one of the highlights for me, because my role there is for the couple that I'm supporting, is to lift up a rock and see if something crawls out. Because if there's something under the rock, guarantee you at some point it's going to crawl out, and they won't know how to deal with it. And so I lift up a rock, see if something crawls out. I had a couple a little while ago come to me, premarriage counselling, and I'll make this a very short story. In the course of our conversation, she said to me quite timidly, quite quietly, she said, "I'm not enough." Meaning she didn't think she was enough.
Right, for him.
For him.
Yeah.
Or even as a person, I'm not enough because of her baggage, significant baggage. And I was able to help her realize that I said to her, if you believe you're not enough, the two most important things to sustain a good relationship are healthy negotiation skills and building trust. If you believe you're not enough, you will not be able to negotiate with your man. And he will feel, he will either do one of two things. He will lord it over you and become too powerful, or he'll be frustrated because he's wanting a deeper relationship. And I said, because you believe you're not enough, you're going to accept something you shouldn't have accepted, and he will breach trust with you, and you will not know how to tell him he's done that. So healthy negotiation skills and building trust fall down on you believing you're not enough, and that's even before you're married. So you must be able to work that through. And so we unpacked that, and it ended very well. She still needs to apply all that to her life. But it was great that he was in the room, and both of them teared up because he recognised her wound. So now he's an advocate for her, and she recognised he was there in support of him. So she was able to become more open to him in that arena. So they've got every chance now of making something work.
It's so much easier, as you say, pre-marriage than post-marriage.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Do you carry on with, the couples you do pre-marriage counselling with, do you carry on after the wedding for a few weeks or a few months?
I'm available to them after that. Because
we might think, we've been to Alan, we did that 6-week course with Alan, we got the rings on now, we don't need them anymore.
No, I have people coming back. That's one of the things I like about it. I built a bridge where they see the truth of what I've shared, and they recognise, okay, if we have an issue, because that's what I say to them, if something falls over here, will you just try and fix it yourself, or will you go for the right help? And so I'm setting them up to be able to say, go for the right help. But the other side of that is, if they do have the right tools and they do know how to use them well, they will be able to deal with things they would never have been able to deal with if they didn't.
Yeah. And it's remembering those things, and to the point, well, I don't know if you can say to the point where they become natural. But surely being consciously remembering it, consciously doing it to the point where it becomes more natural.
Yeah, that's right.
To support. Is there a way, if I recognize and I go, okay, Rob, you brought baggage into the marriage, into the relationship, which you haven't dealt with. Do I need to come, both Sharon and I need to come together to a counsellor, or is it something that I can go, okay, let me go to Alan, and maybe Alan can help me identify my baggage and deal with it, and that will actually help the relationship?
We're all broken, remember? And when we can understand that we're all broken, then it's not so hard to say, okay, I think we need some help. Because if we don't understand that, if we think, well, it's everybody else, or I better not say I'm broken, then we're going to get ourselves stuck. One of the things I like doing, because I'll have somebody ring me, the husband or the wife ring me and say, look, we've got some issues, what's the best approach here? And I'll say, well, both come together. Let's just come together, and I'll share some fundamentals, a little bit like I have, a bit more than that, obviously more than that, and lift up a rock or two so both of you can see how I function. And often in that session, something gets highlighted. And so we gently go there to that highlighted, as long as both parties are okay with that. And I'm very, very sensitive to that. And we'll unpack something there. And I will say to one of them, perhaps you and I could catch up and discuss that in more detail, next time. Because for some of them, it's something that they don't want the other person to know. And I respect that. And it usually isn't about the other person, because it is our own history.
But hopefully it would be something that the other person is able to know later on when it's dealt with. Otherwise, you're keeping secrets and.
No, and that's I'm very particular in helping a person if they've found a truth that's helping them to when they feel safe enough, because sometimes they don't feel safe enough, when they feel safe enough to share that with the other person, because that's going to help the relationship heaps, or has the potential to help the relationship.
The right time.
Yeah, the right time.
Yeah, the right time.
Yeah, to know that you're safe enough to do that, because you won't. You shouldn't make yourself vulnerable if you don't feel you're safe.
Yeah. When we're looking at dealing with the baggage that we brought into the relationship, what does the husband need to remember for his own sake if he's dealing, if he's going to let go of the baggage? What does he need to hold on to remember that, like, yes, you are worthy, yes, you're able to make it? The wife needs to know that, say, okay, you're going to let your baggage be known and deal with it, but you are still going to be loved by your husband. You will still be loved. You'll still be worthy.
That's fundamental, isn't it? We're on the same team. We're not the All Blacks playing the Springboks and trying to grab the ball off each other. We're actually on the same team. So what does on the same team need to look like for us in this kind of setting?
Yeah.
And that's something I would say to a couple, what would support for you need to look like from him, and what would support for you, talking to him, need to look like from her?
Yeah.
And so he's then able to say, well, I'd really appreciate it if when I'm making myself vulnerable, if she was able just to listen and even say these kinds of words to me. I know it might sound a little bit set up, a little bit fake, but they're still all helpful. It's the oil that gets the cogs moving. Yeah. And the same for the woman. Usually it's just, could he please just listen and not try and fix it, and give me a hug when he can see that I'm feeling a little bit vulnerable. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those sorts of things.
Which are skills we all need to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
All right, Alan, thank you so much for your time. Look forward to next time.
Me too, Rob. Thank you.
And just click the details below. You can find out more on Alan's website, and do check out the other Living Well videos. You might be surprised what you learn.